giving some advice that the woman should just continue to pray. You see, a man wakes up as an adult, decides to now go out there to break his marriage vow, and the woman now is the victim, but society wants the woman to continue praying. I strongly believe that it is not in all situations, it's not all prayer, or it's not all times that it's not everything that happens to us in life that actually that prayer becomes a solution. There are certain acceptable behaviors, there are certain actions or inactions that we are involved in that should have actually been, being the solution to some of the problems that we have. You understand? Also, my advice would be, if you are not man enough or woman enough to keep to your marriage vows, please remain single. Because just like every other institution, marriage institution, which of course most importantly is ordained by God, has rules and regulations. Marriage institution has rules and regulations. There are rules and regulations that governs the marriage institution. So if you know you are not man enough, or you're not woman enough, or you are not obedient enough to want to keep to that rule and regulation, it's better for you to remain single. The reason why it's best for you to remain single, so at least you know that if you want to destroy lives, you destroy your life alone, not destroying the lives of other people who you now get yourself entangled with in the institution of marriage, because there's a lot. So it's either the man is entangled with you or the woman is entangled with you. There are children that will be involved, that will suffer as a result of the consequences of your action. And this will roll over also to the grandchildren and to the great-grandchildren. And then when divorce happens, it's going to affect the community, it will affect the society, and of course the world at large. And then hearts are broken, people are anxious, people are crying, people are tearful, people are losing appetite, they are losing weight, they are falling sick, they're ending up in psychiatric hospitals as a result of broken hearts that sometimes cannot be mended. And then sometimes people are infected with HIV, a virus, sometimes full-blown AIDS, because obviously it's not properly being managed or being diagnosed and all of that. And there are other sexually transmitted diseases like other STDs like syphilis, gonorrhea, and herpes. So, so infidelity and promiscuity in marriage, or adultery in marriage, so to say, there are consequences. You see, the word of God is true. The word of God is there to guide us, because God actually understands that if we don't have, if boundaries are not set, being humans that we are, because we are evil, we like overindulgence, we're going to use our own hands to destroy ourselves. Perhaps that is why God puts that law in Exodus 27, thou shalt not commit adultery, because he understands that if these laws, these boundaries are not put in place, men who want to be married to 50 wives and still not be satisfied. They want to marry every woman in their street, in their city, in every woman, even the women themselves, they want to be changing the husbands as much as possible. And at the end of the day, who suffers when two elephants fight? The grass suffers, the children suffer, the society is affected, and the world at large is affected. And that's why you see a lot of children running around in the streets, being abandoned by their fathers. Some of them don't even know their fathers. Reckless men who have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children all over. They meet with one woman, they impregnate her, they move on to the other woman, without actually thinking about the impact and the consequences of their actions, not only to themselves, but to the lives of every other woman and every other child. That's obviously the product of their recklessness, that every child that is brought into the world. So I am totally and completely against that kind of advice. I saw a lot of people, they were kind of saying, hey, this is the kind of advice, we don't have mothers like this anymore. What kind of a mother would advise a child to endanger her life What kind of a mother will advise a child to to expose herself to the risk of sexually transmitted disease, to expose herself to the risk of going through depressive states as a result of pretending to the world that she's married just for the world to see, for the pictures, while she's dying slowly inside that marriage? What kind of a mother will actually expose her daughter to the risk of, actually, because of a long history of emotional abuse as a result of adultery and promiscuity? The child can actually now become mentally incapacitated to the extent that she, one day, just one thing, she kicks off and she takes a hammer or something and slams on the head of her spouse. And that's why you hear sometimes, suddenly you hear that somebody has killed somebody. Because there's so much, we live in a society that condones falsehood and pretense. We want to pretend that our marriage is okay. We want to pretend that everything is okay just for the world, just for the pictures. Rather than seeking advice, seeking help, rather than thinking about the telling people about actions and consequences so that they can deliberate before becoming reckless about their lives. So what kind of a mother puts her daughter in that kind of danger, to the extent that even when the daughter was pleading to her that she wanted to take a rest, this is a woman who was distressed, traveling all the way, emotionally distressed, psychologically not fit, running to seek refuge, but her mom threw her back in the cold. What kind of a mother would throw her daughter back in the cold to go back to an abusive husband? And this is why you hear a lot of cases where you hear that a woman has killed the husband or the husband has killed her because of extended family members who are supposed to actually be a source of refuge that now decide to become archaic in their mentality and their approach because they want to please society. They want society to actually believe that, my daughter is happily married, she's still married, she's still with the man, blah, blah, blah. Because they prefer to please society than to face reality. What kind of a mother? What's a mother? So that's the kind of society that we live in. And it's so sad. So I'm going to actually try to deliberate on some of the consequences. Having said that, I haven't actually obviously kind of addressed my discomforts about the utterances of that Nollywood actress. I'm going to now kind of expatiate on some of the consequences of adultery and promiscuity for marriage, the consequences in the lives of the adulterer, in the life of the victim, in the life of the children of the marriage relationship. Thank you very much, Helena. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. I can see you there. Thank you. So the very first consequence of adultery I'm going to talk about today is the emotional and psychological effects on the victim. Because adultery in this case is not like it's only men that commit adultery. The only reason why I'm actually talking about men, as so to say, is because that video footage is about a man and the wife. And obviously in that case, the wife was actually accusing the husband of committing adultery. But men also cheat. Men cheat. Women also cheat. Women also commit adultery. But the topic today I'm talking about the effects of adultery on a woman, on the wife. What is the effect? What's the consequence on the woman? What's the long-term effect on the woman? Perhaps who decides to say, I want to be married. What will my friends say? What will my friends will laugh at me? If I return home, my mommy is going to ask me to return back to my husband. How will I raise my children without a father? So a woman who decides to stay back in an abusive relationship, what is the consequence for her? What is the consequence of even the perpetrator of that abuse? What is the resultant effect on the children and even the society at large? Now imagine a woman who is married. Obviously, her husband goes to work, leaves home, say 6:30 in the morning. He's supposed to come back later 6 p.m. in the evening. But an adulterous man will not make it 6 p.m., will not make it back home 6 p.m. In fact, an adulterous man, when you ask him, where are you, and he says he's in Tesco, you better start going to look for him in IKEA or somewhere in Scotland. Again, that's part of the consequence of adultery, because once an adulterer, you continue to build up the sin, you continue to tell one lie to another to cover up that original sin. So those are some of the consequences also. So let's deliberate on the effect on the victim of this adultery. So the woman is waiting for this husband to come back home. So she's worried, she's thinking, she's calling his phone, he's not responding. She's thinking of so many things. He may have been involved in an accident. What may have happened to him? Why is he not picking up his phone? So she's worried, she's distressed. She's losing appetite, she's losing sleep. She's not able to sleep, she's waiting for this man to come. Meanwhile, the man is somewhere thinking that he's enjoying his life. He's drinking, he's with a strange woman. He's spending the money that the two of him and his wife are supposed to build together as a couple to use to raise a family, to raise a solid foundation. He's spending it on a third party. He's breaking his marriage vow, because when he took that woman and went in front of God and family members on both sides and friends to say, I do, he said he was going to leave all others to cling to this woman, to the exclusion of all others. But he broke that vow. That vow that he made in the presence of God, because marriage is a covenant. It is a serious thing. The third party who is there, the invisible third party who is there on the day of the marriage, is God, is the Almighty God. So the man decides to break that marriage vow. That's number one sin. And then he strays away. So the wife is there waiting, getting worried, crying, checking the food, puts the food in the oven, checking whether the food is going to get cold. So obviously she can warm up the food for the husband when he gets back, getting very worried. He's not able to sleep. So lack of sleep, lack of rest, and then she becomes distressed. She's calling the man. She doesn't know what may have happened to him. He's not picking up his phone, because usually he will not pick up his phone because he cannot account for where he's been. And then perhaps sometimes there are even some men, they go away 2-3 days. Some of them, they go away for weeks. And the woman, their wife, is distressed. The children have not been able to even see their dad. The effects on the children. This is a father who left home so early. The children were still sleeping. He's not yet back home. The children return back to school. Dad is not home. And then when it's 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., depending on the family set up, the children are in bed, they didn't see their dad the whole of that day. So the effect. So he's a never at home dad. There's no impact on the children. There's no guidance. There's no fatherly figure. Even though in principle they have a father, but he's nowhere to be found. So these are the consequences. It's not just enough to say, oh, you found your husband on top of a woman and you were still able to stay in your marriage because you want to stay in the marriage. The only reason why you want to stay in the marriage is because you are selfish. You are a selfish mother. You are a pretender. You are misleading the public. You know you are living in hell. You know you are not happy, but you want to stay because you want the society to see you as being married, because you think that marriage makes you complete. Marriage is not what makes a woman complete. It is better to remain single and be happy and be safe than to be married and to become even a dangerous person to yourself. And this is the fact. This is the truth. A lot of people have become sick. Some have been diagnosed with cancer because of a long history of abuse, because they decided to stay in an abusive relationship. And these things, this condition, the physical condition, the emotional and physical and psychological condition, there's so much toxicity in their body system, which ends up at the end of the day, they now become very, very unwell, and they end up dying because they want to satisfy society. Because they want to be in amongst the people who are called Mrs. Somebody. Because they think that marriage completes them. They think that I'm unhappy. Don't get me wrong. Marriage is a beautiful thing. Marriage is a beautiful thing. But it is better to remain single than to be in an abusive marriage. It is better to remain single than to be in an abusive marriage. So the picture that the world has taught women to portray is that they think that women are incomplete when they are not married. But I tell you, there are lots and lots of incomplete women who pretend to be married. But they are single, but married in principle. So they are misleading the general public. They are deceiving themselves. They are not facing facts. And there's a whole lot of effects to these pretenses, because it's going to affect them psychologically, it's going to affect them emotionally, it's going to affect them health-wise, physically. And the children are watching. Because the ignorance you portray to the children today is what they're going to replicate in their own marriages. So when the children are watching and you are saying to the children, it's okay for you to be abused. It's okay for you to be physically abused. It's okay for you to condone infidelity and adultery in marriages. So because you've accepted it, the children too, because you are teaching them, you are raising them to go below their standards. You are teaching them about not having self-worth and not having self-confidence. You are teaching them to accept just about anything that is thrown at them, all in the name of relationship. So I'm quite disappointed that Nollywood actress, her advice, and because of the position she has in the society, there are lots of young men and women who are going to buy into that destructive advice. Because what she's doing, she will be leading a lot of women to psychiatric hospitals. She'll be leading a lot of women to become killers. They will end up killing their husbands when they break down mentally. It becomes an involuntary action. Because a lawyer is going to come and bail them out and say diminished responsibility because they were mentally deranged at the time they took that action to kill their husbands. So that's a destructive advice. It's not acceptable in the society that we live in this day and time. So if you're an adulterer, this is one of the consequences. This is the effect of your actions on that wife that you've left at home. You're running around the streets, changing from one woman to the other, saying that you're enjoying. There's a possibility. Remember, that woman that you're running onto, she has also about 10 men lined up because she's not tied to anybody. The only reason why she's following you, she wants a financial benefit from you. So the same way she wants the financial benefit from you, she still gets other 10, 20, 15 men. She wants financial. And those 10, 20, 15 men, they have sexual partners also. So you see, multiple partnership. And this is how people contract all kinds of sexually transmitted diseases. So that's one of the major consequences of adultery in a marriage. The chances of contracting sexually transmitted disease. And then death, and then the suffering. So the emotional distress, the trauma, the psychological distress, the possibility that that person may end up having a mental problem. Because when hearts are broken, when the heart of a woman is broken, when a woman is staying at home waiting for a man to return and he's not returning, and even when he returns, he's not remorseful. He's not justifying where he's been. He's not explaining to her where he's been. He's not accountable. He's not committed to his marriage vows. It can be quite distressing to the woman who is involved. And so she becomes sick. But what you fail to realize is this woman was on her own, in her father's house, being well taken care of. You came and professed love to her. You say you're going to love her forever. You're going to take care of her even better than her father. And you made that vow in the presence of God and in the presence of both families and friends. But you broke that vow. So you are a vow breaker. You've broken the vow in the presence of God. You've broken the vow in the presence of man. You're exposing that woman to a risk of sexually transmitted disease. You are also exposing that woman to a risk of mental and psychological breakdown. You're also exposing that woman to a risk of a physical health issues. Because as time goes on, when she's not happy, when the body elements and everything becomes so toxic, she becomes quite sick because she is now vulnerable. All her immune system now shuts down. And she becomes so vulnerable. She's not able to function and to achieve and to fulfill destiny that God has put you in her life to help her fulfill. The reason why that God has placed that woman in your life, it's not for you to demote her. It's not for you to cause her pain. It's not for you to cause her tears. It's not for you to cause her heartbreak. If you knew you were going to cause her pain, you're going to make her end up in mental hospital. You're going to make her end up with cancer. You're going to make her run mad. You're going to make her end up killing you. And then she becomes a killer and she ends up in prison. That's not the reason why God placed you in the life of that woman. The reason why God placed you in the life of that woman is for you to build her, to make her a better person, to look out for her potentials, to have her best qualities and add to it to make her grow and blossom so that the two of you can fulfill destiny. But what have you done? You have planted yourself in the life of the woman to destroy her, to reduce her. You call her names. You compare her with the woman that is out there. But the thing is, at the end of the day, even if you leave her and you marry that woman that is out there, because you are a cheat will always be a cheat. That same woman that is out there, that is now the best thing that happened to you in the world. If they now ask you to marry that same woman, 5 years down the line, you will do the same thing to that same woman. So the question now remains, when will you stop being a devourer in the lives of people? Did God place people in your life for you to destroy them? No. God did not place people in your life for you to destroy them. The reason why God places people why God placed that woman in your life is for you to build her emotionally, to build her psychologically, to build her physically, to build with her financially, to join together with her to raise children who would fulfill destiny, who will be a blessing unto their community and the nation at large. The question now remains, do you know the reason why you are married? Another question remains is, when are you going to get satisfied with these sexual exploits? Because the beautiful ones are not yet born. More beautiful women are coming up every blessed day. It's summer now in the UK. The other day, just yesterday here, I was like, oh my goodness. You need to see all sizes and shapes. Beautiful, 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 pretty things, pretty little young girls. But the thing is, it is not everything that you think you want in life. Not everything you think you want in life is actually beneficial to you. So you may think you need all the beautiful women in the world. But of what use would they be to you? You have to sit back and ask yourself that question. When are you going to say enough is enough? Before you destroy your life. Before you destroy the life of that woman. Before you destroy the life of your children and your grandchildren. Before you destroy your community. Before you now become a lonely man in your old age. When are you going to say enough is enough? Until you begin to ask yourself this question. Until you begin to say to yourself, self-discipline. You discipline yourself. Think about until you begin to think about the consequences. You're not going to stop. Don't allow your male organ destroy your life. Don't allow your male organ destroy not only your life, destroy the life of the woman that God has placed in your life. Don't allow your male organ destroy the life and destiny of the children that God has placed in your life. The male organ of men is the most dangerous organ that God gave to them. This male organ has brought down kings, has brought down princes, has brought down presidents, has disgraced presidents of world presidents, has disgraced them. Their organ has allowed them to be impeached from office. Chief executives, controlling conglomerates, they've been disgraced out of office because of their male organ. And what is the thing that they need? Just discipline. Discipline is like a person trying to lose weight. Maybe you are a size 20 or you're a size 22 and you feel that, I need to lose weight for my health so I can live healthy. And then you begin to discipline yourself to say, you know what? I'm not going to eat 3 times in a day. I'll eat from henceforth, I'll eat like once a day. I'm going to discipline myself. There's food everywhere. You can afford it. But not every food is good for you. Not every food is beneficial for you, to your health. because you want to live longer. Prayer is not going to work until we begin to take responsibilities for our actions. So you see those people who propagate that the women should continue to pray. A man is in the restaurant or in a 5-star hotel, sleeping with a strange woman, drinking alcohol, messing up his body. The society is advising the wife, who is emotionally traumatized, advising her, the woman who is the victim, to just keep praying. Just keep praying. How so unfair that the victim who should be supported is not the one they're asking to continue to pray. For how long is the woman going to continue to pray when the man who is actually doing this is not actually taking responsibility for his actions? For how long are we going to live in this society of falsehoods, where a victim is now seen as the perpetrator, a victim of emotional and psychological abuse is now being made the perpetrator, saying to her, oh, if you had given your husband peace of mind, perhaps he wouldn't have gone out to another woman. What a way of covering up evil in our society. So if a woman doesn't give the husband peace of mind, so that justifies the man now going to soil up his body, now going to break his marriage vow. So what about the time when the man doesn't give the woman peace of mind? Is it okay now for the woman to go out there to commit adultery? Do you realize that your wife too can also go out there and commit adultery just the same way you're committing adultery? How would you feel if that same woman you call your wife now goes out and is sleeping from one hotel to the other, sleeping with different men? How will you feel as a man? Then you think about it. Just take a minute and think about it. The grass is greener at the other side. So until it happens, when the other flip side of the coin, then you know how it feels. The way that wife of yours, how she feels when she knows that 10 p.m., 12 midnight, 1 a.m., you are not back home. She definitely knows that you are in the hands of a strange woman. Imagine that the coin is flipped to the other side, and you are the one now staying at home waiting for your wife to return back, and you are envisaging in your mind, visualizing that she's in the hands of a strange man. How will you feel as a man? How will you feel as a man? Because what is good for the goose is good for the gander. So don't ever think in your life that it is the exclusive right of a man to cheat on a woman. Women can cheat also. Women can cheat also. So don't deceive yourself thinking that it's only men that can cheat. But a lot of women, they've decided not to cheat, to keep on to their marriage vows. Don't get me wrong. I know there are lots and lots of women who cheat also. But the one thing we must realize about marriage relationship, for both men and for both women, our responsibility is unto God, not to man. The vow that we have made is unto God, not to man. So when you decide as a man or a woman to discipline yourself, to say no to all kinds of temptation, you are doing it unto God, not to man. And there's a benefit that comes with it. The very first benefit, peace of mind. The second benefit, longevity. The third benefit, you're able to save financially. The fourth benefit, loyalty from your spouse. Because when your spouse knows that you are committed to the marriage relationship, he or she will be committed also, and you can build together. So there's a whole lot of benefits. Go check out men who are loyal and committed to their families, and see how happy they end up in their old age. Go check them out. Check out the history of a lot of men who were reckless in their younger ages. They've been abandoned by their wives and their children. And even the strange woman that they ran after has finished their money and has abandoned them and moved on to the next victim. So you got to be careful. We're not here on earth forever. You got to be careful. The seed you sow in the lives of people who God has placed in your life. I'm going to round up this video now. I don't want it to overwhelm my listeners. And like I always say in rounding up, when God places people in our lives, when God places people in our lives, be it our wives, be it our husbands, be it our children, be it our siblings, be it our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, when God places people in our lives, we just have to be careful the seed we sow in their lives. Because whatever we sow in the lives of people, we shall reap it also. When God places people in our lives, we got to be careful the seed we sow in their lives. I believe strongly that when we are going to be judged, the very first judgment of God will start from the homes. We're going to account to God. What did you do with that man that God gave to you? What did you do with that husband that God gave to you? What did you do with that wife that God gave to you? I deal with a lot of women and I hear all kinds of stories. So if you're a man who your wife is tired of complaining, she has just given up hope, she decides to stay back because society is going to judge her if she leaves the marriage. She just wants to answer that missus, but she's in the house. She's wishing you evil every day. She's praying that God should judge you every day. It shows that you are not a good man. There are lots and lots of men whose wives are judging, whose wives are praying that the judgment of God will be upon them. So you as a man, you know yourself. You have conscience, that spirit of God that is in you. You know whether you are a good husband, whether you are a bad husband. You know that you are maltreating your wife. And I'm appealing to you right now that you should change. Because the judgment of God is going to start from every home. We're going to account to God what we did to that man that God placed in our lives, what we did to that woman that God placed in our lives, what we did to the children that God placed in our lives. There are men who are supposed to be fathers, who are supposed to be mentors. Children are left in their care and they abuse the children. They abuse them sexually. They exploit these children. They abuse their stepchildren. They abuse their own biological children. Sometimes their wives even get to know about it. They cover up. They call it family secret. They remain in that marriage. You are going to be judged by God. The things that other people don't see, God is watching us. God is seeing us. We're going to be judged according to the works of our hands. So when God places people in our lives, we got to be careful the seed we sow into their lives. And I pray that God will continue to work things out for us, to continue to the Lord by His Holy Spirit continue to convict us of our evil ways. May we begin to think of how to change, how to be better people. May we begin to think positively about how to impact that man, how to impact that woman, how to impact the children that God has placed in our life. Because the Bible rightly says that whatever we sow, that we should not be deceived. God is not mocked. That whatever we sow, that shall we reap. May we sow well so that we can reap well in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be doing the part 2 of this series in a short while also. Thank you very much, Helena, for watching. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Please share if you've been blessed by this broadcast. Thank you very much. Bye.